It's Friday, January 22. This is the news on PBCJ. I'm Simone Absalom Gale. The fight to provide quality education for every child in Jamaica has been ramped up. All students of primary and secondary school age now have online accounts on the Ministry of Education's virtual Google platform. However, not all of them have logged on for daily classes. That's the word from Acting Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Education, Dr. Grace McLean. She shared that information while addressing the Public Administration and Appropriations Committee recently.
Our weekly report, for example, for last week would have shown that 35,000 of our students logged on the 11th, 28,000 on the 12th, 44,000 on the 13th, and 40,000 on the 14th. And we actually collect this information on a weekly basis in terms of
a
the
cohort
logins.
of how many students nationally?
Well, we are talking about a system comprises of 568,000 students from primary to secondary. We do not have the tertiary to tertiary. We do not have the tertiary captured in this figure.
Primary and secondary. That
right, about a little over 200,000, Chairman. But remember too, sir, that there are other ways that education is being accessed as we speak. So what we do, we try to capture the data. I have not yet gotten the full data for the overall period since we started back on January 4th that is being prepared. But based on what we are seeing a gradual increase in the number of persons who...
Dr. McLean says an assessment of how long students remain online for classes is being done.
So we have seen where there are Google login accounts, Chairman, for 100% of our students, but not all persons are engaged each day. So we have to watch it because we don't know what they log in for, if they just log in to have a look to see what is happening, and also the quality of the times that they spend in an actual classroom. So we are still interrogating the data, and we will update as we have more conclusive data, Chairman.
The Education Ministry has been working on a mixed modality approach to teaching and learning. To that end, they've fused online with face-to-face teaching. The transition from traditional education to online learning has been challenging, and the Minister of Education, Youth and Information, Favour Williams, is reminding parents and the wider community to encourage their children to embrace the different teaching and learning options available. The National Water Commission (NWC) customers can now place their queries through the company's automatic call distribution and interactive voice response system. The system is designed to improve customer service for persons using the NWC's contact center. Corporate Public Relations Manager at the NWC, Andrew Cannon, says the system is a game changer.
Well, this voice interactive system is part of our measure to ensure that customers are placed at the center of everything that we do at the NWC. We do understand that sometimes our customers, they want a whole lot more information when they do make the call to our contact center. So we have decided to really upgrade what can be offered when they dial the number. So when persons dial the NWC toll-free number, now they can be taken through a series of choices, and this will allow them access to information and options. This would include, of course, account balance, making payments using telephone banking, and also whether or not there are water supply disruptions in their area. We know COVID-19 is with us. It is going to be with us for it may be with us for a long time yet. So we are putting in systems that would prevent persons from necessarily coming into the office. And checking their account balance when they call is one such measure, and also making the payments using the telephone banking system.
The new system is projected to field more than half of the calls usually received by the NWC's contact center daily. The Passport, Immigration and Citizenships Agency, PICA, has reportedly received over 2,000 cases of passport fraud cases between 2009 and 2019. So says Warren Vernon, Program Director for the National Identification System, NIDS. Speaking at a recent National Identification and Registration Act 2020 virtual town hall meeting, Mr. Vernon explained that the implementation of the NIDS could deter passport fraud and other crimes. The NIDS Program Director Warren Vernon says the National Security Ministry has reported 400 cases involving identity theft. He says the implementation of the National Identification and Registration legislation would decrease those numbers.
It is for this same reason why the aggregate losses arising from all bank-related frauds, all of them are connected to identity issues, costing the country over $600 million.
Mr. Vernon says the government is working to strengthen the networks and security appliances at the various endpoints that will interact with the NIDS program.
A lot of persons may not be aware that the government would have established a cyber incident response team, and we intend to invest in that team to strengthen our cybersecurity defense.
According to the program director, the NIDS Registration Authority plans to establish a cybersecurity hotline for ID holders.
We are aware that security must be viewed end to end, and all of us will play a role in securing the national identification system. So we want the public to be aware of the do's and the don'ts. We want the public to be aware of the safeguards and what role they will play in the process. There is also greater investment. There is significant investment in upskilling the technical people across the system that will be involved with protecting the system, supporting the system, and we are getting the international expert to facilitate that.
Mr. Vernon also responded to questions regarding the difference between the new IDs being proposed and the national IDs now in use.
The NIDS guarantees one person to one identity, and this is a significant difference between all of the existing IDs. Using multiple layers of vetting and security. Every ID that is issued by the NIDS will be linked to a unique birth certificate or a unique passport profile for persons who weren't born in Jamaica. The NIDS is unique in the sense that for the first time we will have a tool that you can use to verify who you are. You can use it to sign documents securely. You can also use it to access services online and inline. It is also important to note that we currently have no identification card that can be used by everyone from birth. Most of the identification cards that we have now are really for different segments of the population, but the NIDS is for everyone.
Time now for a look at the Ministry's COVID-19 clinical management summary for the last 24 hours. Melvin Pennant reports.
One more COVID-19 related death was recorded yesterday, increasing that death toll figure to 332. The country also recorded 108 new cases of the virus, bringing that number of confirmed cases to 14,658. Of the 108 new cases recorded, there were 38 males and 70 females. The parish breakdowns is as follows. Kingston and St. Andrew, 38. St. Catherine, 21. St. James, 18. Trelawney, 8. Westmoreland, 7. Hanover, 5. St. Thomas, 4. Clarendon and St. Anne recorded 3 each. St. Mary, St. Elizabeth and Manchester recorded 1 each. The country also recorded 24 recoveries, bringing that number of recoveries to 11,833. Some 111 persons are in hospital, with 17 moderately ill and 12 critically ill. Melvin Pennant, PBCJ News.
A one-year memorandum of understanding to promote European investments into Jamaica has been signed between the Jamaica Promotions Corporation, JAMPRO, and the Caribbean Chamber of Commerce in Europe. The MOU, which allows for an increase in trade and commerce between Jamaica and the UK, includes the provision of market intelligence, market information, technical assistance, and the sourcing of investment partners and funding. The MOU will focus on projects in a number of sectors, including agribusiness, the creative industries, global digital ICT, and knowledge services, as well as logistics. The Jamaica Social Investment Fund, JSIF's Entrepreneurship Expo has gone virtual. 30 small business enterprises participated in the Virtual Experience Expo this year, and the public is invited to log on. The Virtual Experience Expo was live streamed with support from the European Union through the Poverty Reduction Program. Managing Director of JSIF, Omar Sweeney, shared the details at a recent JIS think tank session.
We've been giving them the necessary type of support that would be, for instance, business training, business plan development, access to financing, the type of support that small business enterprises would need. And so this program continues.
Business owners can log on to www.jsifexpo.org and on YouTube for tips on how to accelerate their businesses.
Persons who have access to technology can join the forum. And so we're really excited that we've been able to leverage the resources, we've been able to leverage the innovation, and really come up with something that can benefit beyond the 30 enterprises that we've been doing. And I think this is a way that we can use international resources, government resources, and private resources to really benefit a large cross-section of persons. So we're excited about the thing that will come over the next 3 days. And so I just really encourage all persons to participate and come online, and of course, more than anything else, give us the feedback.
The Poverty Reduction Program is a project of the European Union. It was financed through a grant to the government of Jamaica and implemented by the Jamaica Social Investment Fund.
The Poverty Reduction Program, since the third cycle, was aligned with what is the Community Renewal Program, also Vision 2030. In about 2012, the government identified 100 volatile and vulnerable communities across Jamaica. This was done as a result of deep research in communities across the island that named 100 communities. And with the signing of the Cycle 3 of the Poverty Reduction Program, the policy really was to support communities that would have been on this list of 100 communities. And so in our fourth cycle with the PRP, we've targeted specifically 65 communities. And that is to ensure that the resources that we receive for programs like this really go to the most vulnerable based on research and data. We feel now, especially in the time of COVID, that the Poverty Reduction Program has been able to adapt and carry out the type of programs like business support, small business support, that is so needed in a time like this.
A team of volunteers and aides from the Ministry of Health and Wellness are on the streets providing psychosocial support to those in need. The group celebrated the completion of their training in a virtual graduation ceremony this week. Here's more in this report.
Head of the Ministry of Health and Wellness's Mental Health Unit, Dr. Kevin Goldburn, says the training, dubbed the Reach Out Program, was instituted out of the need for more psychosocial support for families, especially with the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. He says the training was done in partnership with the Jamaica Red Cross and the Pan American Health Organization.
This is just a start. As Mental Health Unit, we'll be leading in the development of a mental health and psychosocial support intersectoral network, which will include persons from health, education, social sector, and from security.
Dr. Goldburn says the graduates are part of a regional force for psychosocial support at the community level aimed at promoting mental wellness and
decrease stigma towards mental illness, provide psychosocial support, and detect mental instability early and facilitate access to further mental health intervention.
According to Dr. Goldburn, that psychosocial support is crucial for everyone, especially when surviving a pandemic and other natural disasters. For the news on PBCJ, I'm Gabrielle Thompson.
For news on the movement of stock exchange and other financial matters, we now join Gabrielle Thompson in this edition of the Business Report.
Activities under Jamaica's Open Government Partnership OGP process are set to get underway in earnest in February. Established in 2011, the OGP is a forum of 78 countries whose governments are committed to being more open, accountable, and responsive to citizens through partnerships with civil society stakeholders. Jamaicans are to benefit from the OGP through better access to information on the performance of government ministries and agencies and on matters of public interest, greater transparency on the allocation and expenditure of public resources, strengthened mechanisms to detect and address corruption in the administration of government and public bodies, and greater opportunities for citizens to participate in the determination of government priorities and the monitoring of outcomes. The process is being spearheaded by the Finance Ministry with funding support from the World Bank-financed Strategic Public Sector Transformation Project. A dedicated email address has already been established for the process at ogp@mof.gov.jm, where stakeholders, the public, and the media can submit questions and comments and receive timely responses. In Thursday's trading session, the JSE combined index advanced by 1,284 points to close at under 400,000 units. Overall market activity resulted from trading in 80 stocks, of which 37 advanced, 31 declined, and 12 traded firm. The junior market index advanced by 14 points to close at under 3,000 units. Stocks advanced for 138 Student Living Jamaica, Berger Paints Jamaica, and Caribbean Assurance Brokers Limited. Stocks declined for 1834 Investments Limited, AMG Packaging and Paper Company, and Barita Investments Limited. Trading firm were CAC 2000 9.5% preference shares, Derrimon Trading Company Limited, and First Rock Capital Holdings. Wigton Wind Farm Limited ordinary shares was the volume leader with 11.3 million units, followed by Trans-Jamaican Highway Limited with 6.2 million units, and JMMB Group Limited with over 3 million units. Now for the foreign exchange. The US dollar on Thursday, January 21, ended trading at $145.96. The Canadian dollar sold for an average $116.64. The pound sterling traded for $201.29, and the euro ended trading at $179.41. Oil slipped on Thursday after industry data showed a surprise increase in U.S. crude inventories that revived pandemic-related demand concerns, but United States stimulus hopes limited the price downturn. Brent crude futures fell 47 cents to $55.61 a barrel. West Texas Intermediate crude futures dropped 43 cents to $52.88 a barrel. And that does it for the Friday edition of the Business Report on PBCJ. I'm Gabrielle Thompson.
In regional news, effective immediately, American citizens are advised to cancel all travel plans to St. Lucia. The U.S. Center for Disease Control and Prevention on January 19 downgraded the island from Level 3 to Level 4, the agency's highest threat level. The island's tourism sector, already reeling under COVID-19 lockdowns in the U.S. and United Kingdom, is expected to endure another period of diminished travel that could lead to more pay cuts and widespread job loss.
The COVID-19 pandemic has dealt another blow to St. Lucia's tourism business. The island's main economic earner and largest private sector employer, now isolated and in no man's land. Well over 70% of all visitors to St. Lucia come from the United States. As of January 19th, the Center for Disease Control and Prevention issued its strongest health advisory yet to all U.S. citizens. Avoid all travel to St. Lucia. The CDC's anti-travel recommendation comes amid St. Lucia's sweeping third wave of new COVID-19 cases. With the end of January still 10 days away, the island's unprecedented infection rate already accounts for more than 350 confirmed cases, including 3 COVID-related deaths. St. Lucia recorded another grim milestone in the pandemic on January 19th. The Health Ministry reported a record-breaking 57 new COVID-19 cases had been detected, stretching the number of confirmed cases to date to 713. active cases stand at 359, with one patient requiring critical care. Save for their appeals to follow the protocols, government policy to contain the COVID-19 surge over the last few months hasn't changed that much. In December, authorities relaxed the protocols for the Christmas and New Year's holidays, and mandatory second testing for visitors with a travel history from high-risk countries remains a bone of contention for government COVID-19 policymakers, despite the discovery of more contagious variants of the virus. Chief Medical Officer Dr. Sharon Belmar-George blamed the island's third wave on increased social activity, protocol violations, and non-compliance during the month of December. Conversely, 19 tourists and 16 returning nationals tested positive last month. Authorities waited until January 14th before confirming the island's first known super spreader, directly linked to the Royalton Hotel. Between November 23, 2020 to January 13, 2021, 56 Royalton employees and 4 guests tested positive for the virus. Despite getting government's okay to stay open and retain their COVID-certified status, Royalton decided to shut down until the end of March. Employees at other hotels, including Harbour Club, have also tested positive. Proponent of mandatory second testing, the St. Lucia Hotel and Tourism Association, however, has not offered any public comments on the protocol breaches under investigation by the COVID-19 Command Center. Also under strict lockdowns and travel bans, the United Kingdom, St. Lucia's second largest tourism market. Despite the rollout of new COVID-19 vaccines in the US and UK, St. Lucia's tourism ministry anticipate declining arrivals in the coming weeks. About 12,000 people are directly employed in the hotel sector. Less than half, according to tourism officials, are back on the job. Tourism sector insiders say they're staring down a cold winter season, blanketed in salary cuts, layoffs, and job losses. Rihani Isidore, NBC Prime.
2021 is projected to be a challenging year for gas production in Trinidad and Tobago. Despite this, Energy Minister Franklin Khan is optimistic about the next few years. Speaking during a presentation of T70's 2019 audit of gas reserves and resources, Mr. Khan noted that a number of major projects are due to come on stream in 2022. Sunil Lala reports.
The nation is aware 2021 will be a challenging year for gas production. Currently, we average just around 3.2 TCF per day.
Energy Minister Franklin Khan highlighting the calm before the storm, noting that despite the fact that gas production may be low this year, major projects are due to begin even as early as the latter part of 2021. He says in the third quarter of 2021, BHP's Ruby project is expected to come on stream, while in the first quarter of 2022, BP will be commissioning its Matapal project. He mentions even larger projects in the latter part of next year.
Later in 2022, at the end of quarter 2, the Cassius C compression project will come on stream. That has an additional capacity of 300 million standard cubic feet per day. Also in Q1 and Q2 2022, Shell will be commissioning its Colibri and Barracuda projects that cumulatively would have a capacity of an additional 450 million cubic feet per day.
Meanwhile, Minister Khan adds that Shell's long-awaited Manatee project is also on the cards.
The very, very important Manatee project of Shell, which was the successful delinking of the Law and Manatee Unitization Treaty with Venezuela. The Manatee production is carded to come on stream sometime at the end of 2024 into 2025. That has a capacity that could range from a low of 350 million cubic feet per day to 700 million cubic feet per day.
Minister Khan says in 2026, BHP's development of the deepwater gas reserves could produce as much as between 600 million cubic feet and 1 billion cubic feet per day. When it comes to gas reserves, The Energy Minister says, according to the Ryder Scott audit report, the country remains on fairly firm ground. During the audit presentation, Executive Vice President Herman Acuna from the Ryder Scott Company noted an increase in reserves from 2018 to 2019, which represents a reserve replacement of 13%. Plans for data gathering for the 2020 gas audit will begin in March. Sonolala, TTT News.
Cricket is how we begin our sports package. Bangladesh trounced the Windies by 7 wickets to win the second ODI and clinch the series 2-0 when they squared off in Mirpur on Friday morning. Windies won the toss and opted to bat. They were dismissed after 148 all out. Bangladesh quickly made 149 for 3 to win the game and the 3-match series. The team will meet again for a 2-test series in February. And sprinting on to athletics, the Tokyo Olympics organizers are optimistic that the game will take place this year. Reports are that the decision will be taken in March as to how many fans will be allowed inside the event due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Meanwhile, Jamaica Olympic Association President Christopher Samuda is calling for a national business sport policy. He made the appeal at the launch of the Legacy Athletics Limited on Wednesday. A sport policy will provide strategic guidelines for how sport in Jamaica is structured, managed to ensure consistent global success. And that's the news on PBCJ. Thank you so much for watching.